Yeah.
All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Chris Flick here. I'm here with my friend Wes Morris. We're doing this. I think this is the third time. Chris and Friends podcast, episode 3. Now, I was explaining this to you. The whole premise with this here is I don't get to see everybody I've known. Like, just met a lot of interesting people. We were just talking about Tegan Kane. I did an episode with him. This guy, since I last saw him, has been in, double-digit countries, ultra marathons, all this other stuff, right? So we're getting together here. I'm getting to connect with an old friend, see what's going on in the world, and doing it under the guise of work is what I'm thinking here, right? Because it's always hard to kind of carve out time for things sometimes, you know?
Catch-up time.
Yeah, catch-up time. So this is like, whatever, getting a cup of coffee, but instead we're just going to talk about what's going on in the world. Now, I always enjoyed... I have this memory that kind of slipped your mind even. At my old gym, episode 1 that we did, we kind of touched on Wes's life experiences. So if you ever want to go back, Chris Look Podcast episode 1, just watch that and you could get all that. But there was a moment in time that you were experiencing some hard times. And my brother, who has passed on due to the hard times that he was facing, you said that he helped you get on the right path, so to speak, right?
Yeah. Actually, growing up with the Flux, like my whole life, they were always kind of in my sports environments, and and then we grew up, and I moved away. And when I came back to the Lehigh Valley, I had developed a dependency on opioids, on opiates, and just through the grapevine, I kind of heard that your brother went down a similar path.
Yep.
So at probably the one of my lowest moments in my life, I just reached out to him, and he took me to a 12-step meeting, and and that kind of set the course for my recovery. He obviously he didn't make it, but he definitely I could honestly attribute the life that I have today and the man that I am today to him reaching out and helping me out in my darkest times.
Yeah. And that memory that I had was something that, you just taking a moment to stop in is not something that was probably easy for you, but that's something that I never forgot. It's been who knows how long ago, 6, 7, 8 years, to the point it kind of slipped your mind. But that was always something that that's in my mind. I think there's some sort of connection. Like, I don't know, we don't need to talk, every year, but then when we do, there's always something, I'm always intrigued in what you're doing. I'm always, I don't know, there's always something there, I feel like that.
Yeah.
Some sort of connection there. And I think through some experiences like that, maybe through my brother's life, that kind of could bring some people together. And
I can vividly remember it was eating at me that I had to tell you.
Yeah.
It was a message that I had to get to you that, hey, because even though his passing was tragic, I wanted to remind you of this moment that, like so many other moments that were so positive. And I remember it was just, I had to tell you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you did. Which kind of led to another conversation we had somewhat recent. I don't know how it came about, but we ended up on the phone about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
We were talking about the bicycle race, or not a race, sorry. You were recently, just give us a rundown on that. I'm not going to give it justice.
No.
I called it a race. I mean, I don't even know. All right, here we go.
So it's an incredible story. So I took over a family business, grew it 1,000% in 4.5 years. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the reason why it was so hard is because I had to ride a bicycle for transportation in order to do it. So just imagine trying to grow a business while riding a bicycle. And then one night, we had reached maximum capacity, and I heard the discernment of what I choose to call God. And he said, now let it all go. And I was literally like, what do you mean, let it all go? I just got here. Wes Morris has never been synonymous with success. And you want me to just give it up. So I literally gave a $500,000 a year business back to my mom like that. And my prayers were kind of like, all right, bro, what do you want me to do? I can't sit. So I meditate every morning, Chris. Like, I do not miss a meditation.
How long?
About
What's a rundown on that?
15 to 20 minutes.
Guided or sitting in silence?
Guided.
Yeah,
Joe Dispenza is my guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
The first 20 minutes that I'm awake. And last week, was the first time I didn't do it in 18 months.
Yeah.
I had a bad day, man. I had a bad day. I was like, I'm never missing one of those again. So I'm an inspirational professional speaker, and my prayers were kind of like, God, I want to be one of the best in the world. And through a meditation, I get this vision, and God says, all right, you want to be one of the best in the world? All right, show me you're willing to do whatever it takes. Because where I'm about to take you is going to be one of the hardest things you've ever done, and I need to know that you're ready. There's a nonprofit in South Carolina called Fire Pit Ranch. The mission of the nonprofit is they mentor young boys that don't have father figures. Some of these kids seen the most horrific things that I've ever heard of. At 11 years old, one of the kids watched his dad pull a handgun and shoot his mom point blank in the front seat of the car. God says, I want you to ride your bicycle 500 miles to South Carolina and go speak to 200 kids. You want to be one of the best in the world? This is what I want you to do. So literally, I trained all summer. I actually rode out here in Wassagossa. It was part of my training. And I rode 1,500 miles over the course of 4 months to get ready for this ride. I did it in complete silence. I didn't tell too many people. October 1st, I left and I rode on the Blue Ridge Parkway all the way to Spartansburg, South Carolina. And I get home and I'm like, all right, I did it, right? And you want me to go into the bike analogy?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
I get home, and 3 days of processing this incredible event that I just accomplished, and God wakes me up 3 o'clock in the morning, and he says, all right, I want you to go write this down. And what I realize is that that bicycle that I rode is a metaphor for a successful and meaningful life. Now, the first thing you have is the handlebars. Those are our decisions. Our decisions create our destiny. 1 degree to the left or to the right, I'm in a completely different destination. 1 decision, and my life takes on a completely different direction. So you got to make good decisions in life. The next is the frame of the bicycle. That's my mental and physical well-being. 1 crack in my bike frame, I'm on the side of the road watching everybody else go through life. So you got to take good care of your mental and physical health. The next is the pedals. Those are our desires. The stronger the vibrational frequency of my desires, the more power I put to my pedals, and the further that I go in life. What do you want? What do you desire? The next is the gears. I'm looking at the gears of the bicycle. Successful people know when to switch gears at the appropriate time. The gear that I'm in now isn't the gear that I'm going to be with my family. And you have to have the foresight to see what's coming down the road of life so you can get in the appropriate gear and maximize your efforts. You got to know how to switch gears. The next is the wheel. That's my support system. At any given time on that 500-mile ride, all my weight was on 1 spoke. And in life, you're going to have to rely on a handful of people. So make sure you have a good, strong support system around you. Next, I'm looking at the tires. The front one's filled with inspiration, the back one's filled with motivation. Now, on that ride, I had to check and fill my tires on a daily basis. Because if you ever try to ride a bike on flat tires, it's really hard to do. So you got to find something that inspires and motivates you on a daily basis. The next is a seat. You're going to have to support yourself. Nobody's going to believe in your dreams like you believe in your dreams. You're going to have to support yourself. How are you doing that? How are you talking to yourself? 500 miles, you better bring some water. What's in your water bottles? Is it filled with anger and resentment, distrust of others? Is it filled with love, hope, and optimism, encouragement? What are you drinking? What are you replenishing yourself? Lastly, and one of my favorites, everything in the universe is subject to the law of rhythm. The sun goes up, sun comes down. Tide goes out, tide comes in. Sometimes you're grinding uphill, and sometimes you got momentum and you're coasting down. On those downhills, don't forget to use your brakes. Slow down. Take in the views and enjoy the ride. We get so fixated on getting to the destination that we completely miss the entire journey, bro.
I mean, just that last thing that you said there, the first thing that you came out today, you were like, this place is beautiful.
Yeah.
And something clicked recently in me. I mean, just today, I'm looking out and I'm like, I've been focusing on things that aren't positive out here, you know? All of the work that needs to be done, And then just today with the sun coming out and we have, almost 10 acres, horses and all that, I think, it's like, instead of thinking about what needs to be done, it's like, I'm just trying to enjoy every single thing about this piece of property. So just what you just said there at the end is just something that kind of hit me this past week, where the work's going to get done, right? You just keep going, but you got to enjoy the things that you do have.
Absolutely.
Now, when you drove down there, you rode your bicycle down there to, you said Spartansburg?
Spartansburg, South Carolina.
These thoughts, this message that you just sent us with there with the bicycle analogy, that came after the trip, or was that kind of while on the trip?
No, on the way down there, I got this switch in the back of my head, and once I flip it, man, I don't see nothing, I don't hear nothing, nothing. I'm just locked in on my goal, and that's how I was for 9 days.
How many hours did you spend at a time?
6 to 7.
6 to 7 hours each day.
Yep.
Straight in the zone.
In his 52
Mind and focus.
Bro, I'm telling you, the one day I climbed for 4 hours straight. It was insane. It was South Mountain times 9. What? Like,
that's like a
up and
nightmare.
down 9 times.
That could be a nightmare for some.
It was ridiculous.
Times.
Not a stitch of downhill.
Have you ever checked your heart rate?
Bro, you know what's interesting? At night, my heart rate wouldn't go down.
I was wondering, while on the bicycle, when you're in that zone, like if your heart rate was at a state that, because there's these like flow states and stuff, right, where your brain could just kind of get yourself into this zone.
Yeah.
No distractions. And sometimes during those states, if that heart rate has to be elevated. It's a basketball player, that's trying to take that winning shot. Their heart rate could be at 210. They have no memory of the game because of that heightened sense of awareness, And I was wondering if you had that at all on the bike, because you're on the road, right? There's a danger element being out there too.
Yeah.
You have to be cognizant of cars.
Yep.
Yeah, because we're not in a culture where people are used to bikes being everywhere.
Right.
We've had accidents out on these roads recently that have been just terrible. But so you have to be cognizant of your surroundings, but yet kind of stay in that zone. So I was wondering if there was like if you noticed anything with the heart rate other than the nighttime thing, like not to like challenge yourself physically, but just being in that mental zone for 6 or 7 hours. I was wondering if you noticed anything. But
I noticed when I started climbing, like the first 20 minutes, it sucked. It just it just sucked.
Yeah.
But then I just adapt.
Yeah.
And you get into that rhythm of just, hey, look, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
I would say if I run this way, I did it this morning. The first 10 minutes, it's all uphill, slight upgrade, slight uphill. But
Yeah.
I'm like, it takes me 10 minutes to even stop whining about it. Like it's in your head that this is absolutely terrible.
Yep.
I don't feel like running, but then eventually something just clicks, and I think you have to get past that first little hurdle,
Yeah.
get into that sweet spot, find the zone, and in your case, you were just cruising then, which
Yeah.
is pretty amazing. 6 or 7 hours in a zone, minimal distractions is. I mean, how many people would do that in their everyday life to just kind of be in a state like that? It's pretty. I think it's pretty special.
I did use the law of horizon a lot.
Which is.
Well, I would find a point as far
Yeah.
as I could see, and I would go to it.
Yeah.
Once I got there, I would find another point.
Yeah.
And that's
So you did have
Chalk it up.
minimal tasks, or not minimal tasks, minimal like mini goals kind of as you
Yep,
were going. Yeah.
exactly.
That's cool. Is that something you came up with, or is that a piece of advice that you saw that others use, or
That's
just made the trip easier?
Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Talks about the law of the horizon
All right.
a lot.
While you're down there talking to those kids, you said earlier Wes Morris not synonymous with success. Growing up, right?
Right.
If you have an 11-year-old kid, coming to you with, hey, they don't feel that they have a chance in life or something like that.
Yep.
It's like, what is that message that you give to those kids that feel like anything that you spit at them is just either not gonna apply for my life, or it just goes one in, one out the other type of deal? Like when you have a kid that's coming to you, they lay it all out on the line.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, what is the advice to that kid?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your future potential has nothing to do with your current results. If you were to look at Wes Morris 12 years ago, 25 years ago, there's no way I'm on this podcast right now. No way. There's no way I just rode my bike.
Yeah.
Your future potential has nothing to do with your current results. And results are just results. You can't improve a result until you have a result. So, look, what I mean is what you're capable of has nothing to do with what you can see, taste, touch, or feel right now. It just doesn't.
So all of that stuff that happened, right?
Yeah.
It's miserable, it's terrible, but you cannot let that stuff define your future. You cannot let that affect who you are today and tomorrow and everything else, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And all of that stuff could have been miserable, could have been hell, but we got to get it out. Is it getting out, or is it being aware? I mean, you still feel some of that stuff that happened?
Oh, dude,
growing up?
I'm writing my book right now, and it's brutal. It's brutal because I'm reliving a lot of things that, I'd rather just not bring up, or, just leave them in the past. But look, we can't change the past, but we can change the meaning. We can't change the past, but we can change the meaning. And the meaning, the story that we tell ourselves is essentially what dictates our beliefs and ultimately creates our results. So just change the meaning.
And then when there's Jordan Peterson at all?
Yeah.
He has a self-authoring program, but he put his college students through maybe something similar to what you're experiencing now with some of these life experiences, right? Let's write about this. And they found a bump in grades, GPA and stuff like that, the kids that took part in the program. I don't know all the details, but it was called the self-authoring program. I was like, you're gonna have to just write it out, man. You're gonna have to think about it. You're gonna have to relive it, whatever it is, put it on some paper here. And there might've been some action steps. The last part is like your future self then. So it's like past, present, and then future. And you create like your own little biography or autobiography, I guess. Anyway, it was a cool concept, and it sounds like that application is therapeutic in a way, right? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because what it does is it helps the brain process traumatic events or any type of events, and then all of a sudden it doesn't own you. So case in point, if I have a thought about my childhood and it was negative, or I give it the meaning of negative, think about your brother.
Yeah.
Right? You have that thought about you miss your brother, right? Through writing, I'm able to process those events and give them a new meaning. And then when I think about them, I don't have an emotional response anymore. I processed it. I've given it a new meaning. Like the best I can think of is my mom. My mom went through one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen anybody go through in their entire life. For 20 years, I carried a resentment. I thought about that event and it would create anger, right? The new meaning that I gave it is, my mom was just doing the best she knew how.
Yeah. In that moment, that's what she thought was the best, right?
Yep.
And that was the decision. That's what went into the decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give it a new meaning. And then it doesn't own me anymore. And that's the truth.
You can't let the darkest days define you either.
For
Whatever your
sure.
darkest moment is, that's not who you are.
Exactly. That's a hard one to do.
When you talked about that thing about my brother too, I just had a thought too. My daughter, we gave her her name's Amelia, but her middle name is Ryan. So there was these moments in time when she was little, I would share some stories with her, and I'd be like, "Oh, what about Uncle Ryan?" So I think reliving some of those moments a little bit and retelling of a story, one, it makes you think about playing street hockey and yelling "Cool," and moving the nets out of the way, or all of the times we're bicycle riding or playing football in the park. Like all of these new memories started coming up as I shared these experiences with her, with my daughter, and that has been helpful too. And I think it kind of just reshapes everything
Exactly.
in the mind. So that is just something that happened by accident too, and I'm sure that there's better evidence out there on an explanation to the why behind that. But I found that to be a good, useful tool instead of avoiding and burying and not talking about something that's uncomfortable. Let's open up about it, let's share it, and even if it's with your 5-year-old daughter, it seemed to help. So
that's good.
good tool. Meditation every morning. You miss it, it's awful. Now, do you have anything else that you've noticed that has a similar effect? Is it meditation that's a non-negotiable? Are you still riding as much as you used to? Because I saw you come in today, man. I saw you driving today.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, congrats.
Yeah. That's a good one.
He called me. He called me and was like, "Hey, where am I?" And I was like, "Shit." It's like, man, Wes got his license. He's lost. He's
great.
trying to come out to the farm here. By the way, where we are here, man, we're just out in the country, I guess.
Yeah.
And there's two. This road runs into two different towns. Where I am, there's only 3 digits in the address. The neighboring town, there's 4 digits. So people will come here and be like, "Hey, is this 2100?" I'm like, "No, 210, whatever."
Right.
Or 2250, and I'm like, "No, you got to go 8 minutes that way."
Right.
So it sounded like I just sent you my location then to see if you can find me.
that helps.
But being out here on the horse farm too, I also wanted to bring up the fact I've seen you talk about the farm, right? Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Is that where you were?
That's right.
I went to college there for a few years.
Yeah.
And then I've gone back. Maurice has done some work there, like hosting horse shows and stuff. So
Yeah.
I've been there, I don't know, maybe 3 to 6 times in the last probably 5 years.
Nice.
So I do know the area and stuff. Where's the farm? Is that kind of close to the exit off 80? I know that neck of the woods, but
Yeah, so you know where the school is. There's Light Street right there, right? If you take Light Street straight on, over 80, it's a place called Mount Pleasant. That's where the farm is. But the other side of my family is from Millville, which is closer to Buckhorn.
Oh yeah, same neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And then I mean, if you think this is country, that stretches. If you're in Pennsylvania, it's like Interstate 80 type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a lot of farmland still. Yeah. And I remember I was, one thing that you learned. I don't want to steal your story, but you shared some advice once about. I think it was your grandfather might have taught you about. The first thing that you do each day.
Yeah. So I still carry a lot of leadership principles that I learned from the farm that the farm life. So I was explaining this to somebody else. 2,000 years ago, we were hunters and gatherers. That's how we survived, right? 2,000 years ago was the introduction of agriculture. And that changed humanity for the rest of our lives. 100 years ago, 87% of America were farmers. Now it's less than 2%. And the farm life is an honest, integrous, hardworking way of life. And my grandfather, at 6 years old, he was one of the greatest horse trainers I've ever met. He was just intuitive with horses.
Do you know what, did he just like break them, or did he get them prepared for a competition of some sort, or what was his role, do you know?
Yeah, so my uncles were state championship barrel racers.
Oh yeah, they did the barrel scene.
Yeah,
got it, nice.
They were barrel racers. My mom, I was on a horse at 5 years old, and my grandfather, he would, on Sunday afternoons, we would saddle up the horses, and that was our thing to do. So at 6 years old, he takes me out to the barn and he says, "Come here, Westley, I want to show you something." So he takes me out to the barn, and there's a young colt, a young horse, and he's wild. My grandfather takes a handful of corn, puts it in his pocket, pulls it out, holds it open, and he goes, and he gets that horse to come and eat right out of his hand. And he looks down at me at 6 years old and he says, "Wesley, all relationships move at the speed of trust. All relationships move at the speed of trust. Not necessarily the trust between two people, but can you trust yourself to do what you said you were going to do?" 6 years old, I learned that.
Now the horse, then, we talked about you brought up the intuitive side of things. They, as an animal, I mean, my appreciation towards having the farm and all that has grown. Same with the appreciation towards those animals, because they're pretty, magical is a weird word to use, but they're kind of
majestic.
They're like, I think they're a little bit more intuitive than a dog, but they're right there with them in terms of they feed off of your energy. If you're coming in there, we had a horse here that must have had a bad experience with a male. Emmy would go in there fine. Marisa goes in there fine. This pony
didn't
man,
like it.
I show up and it's moving away and all that, and I'm like, I got to give this animal some space here, and I guess it's going back to the trust situation there, right? Where you read the energy of the scene, you don't try to force yourself into it. You got to kind of develop and build some trust. I guess it takes time.
It takes time.
Young Wesley learned that at age 6, huh?
Yeah.
Now the other one though was take care of the animals first.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm doing a video documentary with my 93-year-old great uncle.
That's cool.
Because I realized they're just such a wealth of knowledge, and I want to capture that before they, transition. And 4:00 in the morning, they woke up. They woke up and they fed their animals first. They fed their animals first before, it didn't matter if it was raining, sleeting, snowing, didn't matter how they felt. They got up and they fed their animals. It was non-negotiable. It just wasn't up for discussion. And it taught me that I have to have some non-negotiables in my life that are not up for discussion, because if it's on the table for negotiation, I promise you there will come a day where you just don't feel like doing it. It's got to be non-negotiable.
Now, talking with Tegan, talking about stuff like that on his, what sounds like your bicycle ride, and also his plan for this hike that he's going on, it was like the thing in the hiking community is like you can't take any zeros. So the moment you allow yourself to take that one day, that 0 mile day, then the likelihood of another 0 mile day is probably going to be
interesting
happening soon. So
yeah,
that the ability to move in his case was like that is non-negotiable. We got to put in some work on the bicycle path. We got to do a little something, right?
Yeah.
With the animals, we cannot not feed the animals.
Right.
We're here to take care of them. We're here to train them. We're here to get them to be well behaved and all of that. Build the trust. can't skip it.
Right.
You'll get your food eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. I like that. I think it's good for good analogy for a lot of things, really.
Yeah.
With the animals. So yeah, the farm life. Your family's still doing it, man?
Yeah.
What are they farming? Is it still horses and stuff? They have.
Yeah, there's horses there. They have beef cows, and then the rest is just hay, corn, grain, soybeans.
Yeah. Cool. Did you have an opportunity to spend a lot of time there growing up?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Summers, make hay, Thanksgivings. Just my mom made sure that it was a part of our culture, a part of our life, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You miss any of it? I mean,
all the
I saw
time.
you have a dog now.
Yeah, that's my buddy, dude.
You
Yeah.
doing some dog training?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
What are you working towards? What are you working towards?
Just, I bring her in so when I do corporate events, I bring her in, I run her through her gamut of tricks.
Yeah.
I got treats in my pocket right now. And then I put her into a sit and I tell her to wait. And I walk into another room where she can't see me. And I let about 45 seconds go by and I give a little, and then she comes and running and finds me. And then I walk back into the room and I tell the entire crowd, I say, don't let the distractions of the world keep you from the treats.
Yeah.
Goes over so good.
Yeah, that's a great opener. People love dogs, man.
Oh, yeah.
And they love seeing that.
Absolutely.
So, anything else that you're working on? You got any good? What else you got up your sleeve with the dog, man? Jumping on your back or anything?
It's tough. I'll tell you what, man. With dogs, my buddy Lucas Holland. Shout out to Lucas Holland. This dude is the dog whisperer, man. He's got dogs. He's one of the best trainers I've ever seen, and I just find it fascinating. Dogs. Their natural instinct, the same with horses, their natural instinct is to work. And 100 years ago, each dog had a purpose. Whether it was to pull a wagon or to go hunt down a blood scent, they had a purpose in life. And instinctually, they still want that to live out their purpose. They still want to work. It's just that we create them as pets and they just walk all over us, right?
Yeah.
So I just love watching her tap into her ancestral instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an opportunity to? I mean, what about exercise for the dog?
Yeah, I ride my bike and she pulls me.
You put in what, 30, 60? Like, how often do you exercise her?
I try once a day.
Because my buddy had a German Shepherd, Matt. He was like, dude, it's exercise.
Yeah.
It's food. It's love.
Yep.
You get discipline then,
Yeah.
from the animal.
Yeah.
Like, but you can't have them laying on couches all day and then expect them to be the most well-behaved. They need to get some of that out. They need to express themselves and get moving, which it's not too different than humans, I don't think, really.
Right.
When you think about it, I mean, I work with a bunch of kids now, man, young kids from preschool to 8th grade, and it's like, this school, fortunately, gets them outside multiple times a day, but I think about the public school, like growing up, and I'm like, dude, no wonder why. Like, I was bored, not entertained, and like, well, we did sit around for 7 hours, straight. You get 30 minutes for recess or something, but like, I think human beings need that kind of movement and exercise and whatever to discipline that comes with just physically training yourself. I don't know. There's something to that. I think we need it with the animals as well. Don't know where I'm going there, but with the meditation, with the bicycle, you miss bike riding?
Oh yeah, that'll start back up soon.
But what happens if you don't physically do some stuff?
Oh, dude.
You find yourself getting cagey a little
Bro,
bit?
I'll tell you what. So I'm an addict. I'm an addict. I don't care if it's food, sex, drugs, money. If it feels good and releases endorphins, I want more of it. Sunday night, I ate 3/4 of a tray of brownies, bro, at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I just said F it, and I just ate them. Man, I don't know if you ever ate that much sugar and tried to go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, but man, it was not good. And it just set me off into a tailspin for Monday, Tuesday. Finally, Tuesday, I'm like, dude, this is dragging on.
Yeah.
So I shocked my body. I did a cold plunge and reset my system. And today I did Muay Thai and I'm feeling good. But
what's with the cold plunge? What are you getting out of it? How much time are you in there?
Yep.
What are we looking at? You're just jumping in some ice water? You got some sort of elaborate setup, or what do you got?
No elaborate setup. That's coming this year, probably. Yeah. I'm
Wow,
still.
what's wrong with your current setup?
Well, in the summer it doesn't work. I'm not filling it up with ice all the time.
Yeah.
But right now, with the weather that it is, it gets cold at night. So in the morning, there's just a small bit of ice on top, and it stays about 33 degrees, 34 degrees. Pop in there 3 minutes, or until I involuntarily start shaking, and then I'm out.
And then what? And then how long does that chill in your bones stick around for?
Not too long.
No, you warm up somewhat quick?
Yeah, I got a pellet stove. I just stand in front of it for a while.
So it's not like you return to normal.
But going back to the no negotiations, like there's not one time where I'm like, man, I can't wait to go in this freezing cold water.
Yeah.
Never happens.
Yeah, never once.
Never once.
So you're feeling alive after that, right?
Oh,
Wakes you
man.
up,
Yeah.
Get your juices going.
I'm
whatever.
cooking.
So you could eat 19 brownies, hop in that bad boy the next day.
I don't know. I never tried that one.
I don't know if that's no. I can relate with the all or nothing thing. Whether it's like freaking cookies, right? I'm either in or out.
Oh yeah.
Coffee,
Yep.
whatever else, man. I'm like I have to. I don't have a moderate. I don't have a moderation.
It's all gas.
Button. I'm in or I'm out, and I'm very good about being out. Like
Yeah. I respect your discipline.
Not drinking, fine.
Yeah.
Go out with a friend, one beer, no, I don't touch it. Used to, but I don't anymore. So I have the ability to do that, but there's still some lingering, the caffeine. If there's if there's cupcakes here, I'm not eating one. I'm going for 4 to 6.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that says. Now, do you think you said you were an addict, right? You are an addict. Do you believe that you could? Is it substitution, one addiction to another, or is it just like, hey, this is who I am? Like people would say, hey, this person is on drugs. They're gonna go get obsessed with exercise or running running or things of that nature, right? Do you find that maybe a bicycle might have replaced something, a habit or a routine that you used to have?
Yeah, I could see that a little bit. Absolutely.
But is that something you could change then? Because you said I'm an addict.
Yeah, and when I say that I'm an addict, that means that there's something. I suffer with the A1 allele complex. There's something in the 11th and 12th chromosome in my brain that is different from a normal person. There are people that can sniff a line of cocaine, walk away. I'm not one of them, right? There's people that can have one brownie, walk away. I'm not one of them. I have something in my brain that says, oh, dopamine release, more, to the point where you're 400 pounds or you're overdosed or you've lost your whole family because you've worked yourself to oblivion. It doesn't matter what the vice is. It's just, it feels good, releases dopamine, I need more. That's what makes me prone to addiction.
So with that, genetic variation, we'll say.
Yeah.
Say somebody else has that and they come to you and they're like, Wes, I need help. How do you manage something like that?
Well,
How did you maybe, or the advice that you would then give to maybe somebody about?
Well, the first thing that I had to do, and we could go down this rabbit hole.
It could be quick. It doesn't have to be a lot. But
I mean, the first thing I had to do was admit, okay, Wes, you don't know how to handle certain things. Certain things that release dopamine, you don't know how to put them down. I know it sounds so easy, but for whatever reason, once I start, I cannot stop. I just can't. Either I'm in handcuffs or I'm in the hospital. So I had to come to that realization. And I did that through taking a look at the last 20 years of my life and being very honest as to where this behavior led me to, till it was black and white. And I had to come to that admission. At which point then, I seek the guidance of other people to show me how to live without that type of behavior, right? Without the use of chemicals. And
do you still get the dopamine kick from some other stuff?
For sure. The cold water.
Yeah.
The cold water.
So you're still kind of getting that. I don't want to say you're chasing the dopamine hit, but you're still getting some. You're still getting some elsewhere. It's just not from these negative things.
Correct.
Now, if somebody then is going to challenge you, say, the people that are like, hey, just put down the bottle.
Yeah.
They say that in a way as if it's easy. This is not my opinion, but I don't want to say what do you say, because this might not even have an answer, but like that type of mindset is like, this person says that they can't fix something. I'm an addict. I need to do this, right? Just put it down. Why can't you say no? How do you tell that person that this is not, like I'm trying to figure out, it sounds like a fixed mindset thing where like I'm an addict and this is just who I am, right? I don't believe that.
Okay.
But it sounds that way sometimes.
Okay.
How do you make this in a way that doesn't sound like, how do you not, like it sounds, is it important to accept that you're an addict? Or do you say I was? Is there ever a I was?
We don't even have to use that word if that's the word that's...
Basically what I'm trying to say is instead of saying I am, is there ever an I was?
Some people ask me that question. One of my friends asked me the other day, he said, Wes, he said, I don't think you could ever go back to the person that you were 10, 12, 15 years ago. He said, I think you're a different person and you've changed completely. And I looked at him and I said, well, I don't have the luxury to find out. So I'm not debating it. I don't know. This has worked for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to find out.
No, fair enough. I'm just trying to think of, obviously not in a clear way here as we look at each other confused. As I'm trying to get out what the hell I'm thinking. But that's all that, like, not to like, you're going to ever go down that path again. But in the addiction recovery process, does the day ever come that you say, I am no longer an addict? Because you said today that I'm an addict, right? You said I'll eat this, I'll do that. Does that day ever come where you're just like, I'm not? Or is a part of that recovery being aware that you are?
Aware that I am.
Got it. Fair enough.
Yep. And that works for me. And that's okay. I also am not naive to think that my way is the only way. There's many different modalities to recovery. Many different. Now,
when you go with some of these speaking engagements and stuff that you're doing now, what type of work are you getting into? Is there a specific niche, or are you doing, hey, corporate? I saw you got some sports teams, you're at a gym. Is there any kind of environment or community of people that you really get fired up about, or do you just enjoy the process itself?
I do like corporate.
Yeah.
I love that 18 to 22 range. My favorite audience is the one that I don't get paid for, and that's prison system. I love people that are at the lowest of their lows. I love rehab facilities, but they don't have budgets for what I do. But in regards to corporate, I started talking about something that's very taboo, but it's really ruining our society, and it doesn't get talked about, and that's pornography.
Who are you talking to about this, just in general?
Yeah, talking to corporate,
Corporate, 18 to 22s, or adults as well? Is there?
Yeah, adults as well. I mean, like the research is staggering, and I know you're a research guy, so check out Fight the New Drug. Yeah.
There, a while ago, there's a book. It's Brain That Changes Itself, I think. I listened to it. Marisa might have read it. Norman Doidge, Doidge is his name, but there's at least a chapter or a good section in that book that talks about the chemistry that changes in your brain by watching that. And it's rough, dude. I mean, every kid's got a phone. And you know what you can find on your phone, dude? I'm like,
Jesus. At 12, 13 years old.
Sorry, what was that name?
Fight the New Drug.
Shit, pen's not working. Fight the New Drug.
83%.
I mean, here it is. I mean, whatever, 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, go into some of it if you don't mind.
Well, 83% of 13-year-olds have been exposed to some sort of pornography at 13 years old, right? You don't even know how to process. So then by the time you reach 18, 20 years old, you have this expectation of what that behavior is supposed to be like. And it's a downward spiral of more different, and it really just leads to some horrific things.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't get talked to. And then look, I'm a product of sex trafficking, right? Like my family was in the sex trades. It is what it is. I'm not hiding it anymore. And as a 12-year-old little boy, to find out that dark secret, it's detrimental. It's extremely detrimental. And in corporate, when these guys go on these corporate events to different places and staying in hotel rooms, this sort of thing happens, right? And then the family is devastated. And then next thing you know, kids are growing up without fathers, right? There's a kids that grow up without fathers, especially boys, have a 76% higher rate to go to prison. It's just the research, man. So rather than just talk about the surface stuff, I like to get to the exact nature.
And there's a time, man, that I totally agree with everything. I am so, I don't want to say conservative about certain things, but that corporate partying, or and all that other crap, you talk about destroying a family. Nothing is worse than growing up, like you said, without a father figure or in a split house, right? I've saw a therapist, Reese and I were at each other's freaking necks a couple years ago. Like, we were having a hard time. One of them was like, yeah, people could survive in two separate homes. Co-parenting became a thing. And in my mind, I'm like, that is so, I know those stats about the kids in split homes, you know? And I knew all this. I'm like, why in the world is this lady telling us this, Like, why is she telling us this? Because there's other people that might have just quit and took her advice and then just bolted. Then that kid's gonna feel that, right? And then that kid is gonna think that relationship's normal. The parents arguing, the parents running, not fighting, not trying to keep it together. Obviously, there's some things that can split a family up, but like, just to be open about that was like something that I was like, why would somebody say that that's an option? Like, I always thought the option A would be like, you got to stick it. You got to do what's right, whatever it may be. Now, I'm not talking about the partying side of things. I'm just talking about a relationship and not quitting on something. Yeah. Because the destruction to the family could be the worst thing that is wrong with, could be the cause of what's going on. I think when people complain about things, both parents are working now. The kids aren't getting attention that they need. Right. The kids are getting things that they probably shouldn't have.
I think the iPad is a babysitter.
Yeah. COVID happened. Parents are working from home. Kids are at home. Like, you can't just be with your kid the whole time. So go ahead, watch whatever show for 2 hours. Like, I've heard those stories where parents are like, I'm trying to get some work done, but my kid's at my butt. I just told him he can go watch a TV or he can go do something just so they can get a little bit of time for themselves, right? So yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard. Destruction of the family could be one of those things that I don't think it gets talked about much, as people always want to kind of blame. I don't know where the blame goes, but I work with people and it's like, oh, the parents, or oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. And I'm just like, it can be multifactorial, but you can't just figure it's one thing. I think the loss of the family could be one of those things that if you did have to pick something, maybe it's that. I don't know. Sure. I mean, you grew up. Did you grow up in a single parent home?
Yeah.
Yeah. You and a sister, right?
Sister, I had a stepdad. He, they did the best they could, but, I'm writing this in my book. Cocaine was a huge factor in my household, right? So.
You sounded like Rick James in the Dave Chappelle skit. You remember that? Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Seriously, it is, bro. It is. But one more thing about the porn addiction. Pornhub is the #1 website visited in the world. And then with these oculars, so I study the brain and what these things are about to do, probably more so to men, but women as well. You're no longer going to want to be with your spouse because you can escape to this fantasy whenever you want. And it's going to ruin platonic relationships or romantic relationships. So it's very scary stuff. What I've heard about, and look, this is something that had a hold of me from the age of 12 years old till about 35, and then all of a sudden, thank God, I was kind of released from that addiction, and I kind of woke up and I was like, bro, this is crazy. Yeah. So I talk about it, but more so in corporate is just, don't be a public success and a private failure. That's a big one.
Yeah, I think that's probably a great. How many words was that? That's about 6 words, 7 words. I don't even know, but that's incredible advice. I think I was kind of bring it back to social media, kids, all of that stuff, right? The devaluing of a human being with a dating app.
Yeah.
You could just go on a date, and while you're on the date, you could be looking for the next date because this one's boring. So you're devaluing the human in front of you. That's a problem. Social media, like you're judging, people are setting a scene.
Oh yeah.
As if they're living this wonderful life, but then behind closed doors, they might not be. So it's like the public perception versus who you are. Nobody, I don't want to say nobody, but not a lot of people want to focus on the inner, this person, right? It's always about the external. And then when you chase the external stuff, internally, it's hard to be happy. And I think that's leading to a lot of issues that we have with just how people feel about themselves. Deaths of despair. You look this up at all? Look up some of these numbers, man. Our age range, man. White males of our age, suicide, overdose, and alcohol-related deaths. They're almost doubling every 3 years.
That's
it's
crazy,
ridiculous.
bro.
It's the #1 cause now of our age group.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Deaths
can
of
see
despair. Look it up, man. People are not happy. People are losing their jobs. People are dissatisfied in all these other areas, man. And unfortunately, they're finding now with these ocular things you're talking about, people are going to be finding joy in other things that is not real joy, And I think it's going to continue to further plunge those numbers in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
It seems to be us men, I guess, are on the wrong end of that stick there with that.
It's so hard to decipher real from fantasy anymore, bro. It really is. And also, you can never fix a spiritual void with a physical thing. I don't care how hard you try. And I tried really hard.
That is something that is really hard to get across. I mean, you speak to kids and stuff too, and I have an issue with getting people to focus on that the inside stuff, right? The internal stuff. Taking a moment to breathe, taking a moment to appreciate stuff. Yesterday in health, I stole this from this guy Darren who was in another week. First thing in class was hey, you're gonna write down 3 things that happened this past year. 3 great things that happened in the last year. 3 great things in the last month, 3 great things in the last week, 3 great things that happened today, right? And I didn't really care what they were, but I just wanted them to start thinking. And for 6 to 8 minutes, they were focused on the task and they weren't focused on all the other nonsense that could be going on in their day. So just by having those moments of good, thinking about positive things, that was 8 less minutes that they had thinking about whatever was bothering them, So that was one strategy that we wanted to teach. Another one was we have to start breathing in certain situations, social anxiety, anxiety in all these other areas, right? You can control this.
Yeah.
You have the power to control it anyway with your mindset and your breath work and all that. And I think if you give somebody the power to control their future, right? Once they realize that they can control their future,
Right.
I think that's the most powerful thing of it, where you're focusing on the thing that matters most. The social stuff, the spiritual stuff, whatever, the mental stuff, right? That's the stuff that matters, connecting with people in person, that type of stuff. So, I don't know. That was our lesson yesterday, man.
That's good.
So go ahead and
Good.
I'll send you my health curriculum.
But it's funny because yesterday, my niece.
How old is she?
She's 16.
Okay, so that's what, sophomore?
She's a junior.
Junior?
She's a junior. Yesterday, she gets a report card. The girl's got a 4.8 GPA. Personally, I didn't even know you could get a 4.
I know. Dude.
I didn't know this.
Well, at my old gym, these kids are telling me their GPAs, and I'm like, how do you get above a 4.0?
How does that even happen?
Well, you're taking
What are you?
Yeah.
What's the grading like these days?
I couldn't even get a 3.0.
I don't know where this girl comes from, bro.
Good for her, man.
So
4.8 out of 5 is the best, I think. I think it's 5.0 is the top honors now. But.
Crazy. So she goes to Freedom. She's a junior. She yesterday she found out that she went from number 1 in her class to number 2. You would have thought her puppy died. She was distraught, bro. I've never seen this girl so distraught. And she started hyperventilating, she got herself so worked up. And I was like, wow, you this is something serious for you, number 1, but number 2, I need to teach you how to lose. Because I don't care how you win. Show me how you lose.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that? Personally, I'm a master at coming back from failure. I've done it a lot.
Literally writing the book.
Literally.
On it.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming back.
But I realized, okay, you don't know how to lose. You don't know how to give that thing a meaning. You don't know how to control your breathing, and you don't know how to overcome these thoughts. So
yeah,
we're gonna work on that.
Yeah, catastrophizing was the word that they used for one of these things, right? That we're talking about, anxiety. It is just a catastrophe, but they somehow turned it into a different word. It's that situation where it's like, hey, this just happened. The world is gonna end. I'm a failure.
By the way, I wrestled this guy like all through high school. He was my wrestling partner. He was not a great loser. He did not like to lose at all.
I don't know. I try not to do competitive things right now.
Really?
No, I do, but I'll play games. But if I feel like, if you start feeling yourself get like worked up, I'm like, I have to think about, I'm playing some stupid yard game. I am not gonna let this emotion get me like yelling at something. You know what I'm like? I'm not yelling at anybody, but we were playing this game. You know, Joe Baker. We're throwing frisbee, knocking this thing off. It was me and Eric Gritta. We're winning and winning and winning. People are starting to get pissed. Everybody's drinking except for me, so I'm the only sober one.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? We won like 3, maybe 4 in a row, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm tapping out. This is going to a place where like people are just they're taking it to another level, and I'm just not engaging with this right now.
Good.
I'm playing darts, dude, and I'm like, you feel the heart rate going, and you're like, God damn, what is this going on? It's a competition thing that really has the ability. You know Mike Tyson, man. He was on with Joe Rogan. One podcast episode, he's like, yeah, you know, I don't lift the weights anymore. It unleashes the animal in me. Then he signs up for the charity fight with Roy Jones Jr. He's in there like a savage. Rogan said, I bought a table that was bigger because I wasn't comfortable sitting that close to him. Like, I felt his energy, and it was violent, you know, all because he started working out and training, and it brought the animal back out, is what he said. That's scary. I don't know how we just went into that, but that thing is something I like. Oh, losing, right? There's kids now, man. We'll play a game that involves tag. If I'm it, I go and I tag you, right?
Yeah.
You're it. You, now sometimes I just learned of this 3 years ago. That's targeting. And I'm like, yeah, it's tag. You pick somebody, you target them, and then you tag them. Yeah, and they're like, no, he said he was going to get me, and then he got me. And I'm like, yeah, you knew he was coming, man. So those are the fights I have every day. I swear to God. In this gym, we'll play a game, and it's just like, something like that comes up, and I'm like, guys, no, that's a game. Yeah, he got you. You know what you could do? You could run around a little bit. Make him work for it. How about that? You know? Don't just freaking throw your hands up and sit in the corner.
Oh, you got me.
Yeah. And then blame them for it.
It's targeting.
Yeah, this is new. This is new, man. I just thought we used to play games, and that was that. There was always the fast kid, right?
Yeah.
There was always somebody that was going to be better than you at something, and that's just the way it goes sometimes, man. But you don't let that, you don't just throw your hands up, right? And say, oh, no, I just lost in a match. I'm terrible at wrestling. I'm never going to do it again. You know, it's just, I don't know, constant daily practice of improvement from here, from the bottom. Like this person, I'll just use track, running a mile, for example.
Yeah.
You could run a mile in 5 minutes. Yeah. I could run it in 7.
Yeah.
You could be coasting. You could be the world's best runner. I could be outworking you, even though I'm running at 2 minutes slower, based off of my effort, my heart rate, and stuff like that. So sometimes people see that 5 minute mile and think about this individual is somebody that we should strive to be. But really, that 7 minute mile person is working harder than they are and putting in more effort and more dedicated to the cause than somebody that might have just got that 5 minute effort based off of, you know, whatever, some sort of gift that they may have. Right. So that is always something too I think about, you know, it's effort, it's your intention. I think you brought up with the podcast. We need to have an intention. I tell that with some of these kids. You know, we're jumping rope. Young kid doesn't know how to jump rope. I don't care if you are successful, but your intent has got to be there. Like you have to, your intention has to be to make it, okay? You have to give me the real effort. Give me 5 great efforts. I don't care if you make them all 5, but I just want 5 real efforts, you know? And eventually it becomes, they're able to accomplish it, but it's the intention part of it, right? Like your intention has got to be to do it. It's not like willy-nilly. We got to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You with me or not?
Absolutely.
All right, good. You got anything else?
You know, I'm impressed by your self-awareness. Yeah.
Why? Because I don't play yard games if I feel myself get heated?
Well.
Local guy gets arrested over a stupid frisbee game. No.
Over playing yard dogs.
I used to have a terrible temper. So back in the day, I didn't handle, there was a time in 8th grade, man, I was probably at my best. I matured before everybody else, right? I benched 200 pounds in 8th grade.
Wow.
I was 140 pounds and I was solid. I got headlocked once at a tournament. I mean, I didn't even want to go get my medal. This kid headlocked me and pinned me. Shouldn't have lost to him in my mind. I was going to win this thing. Some kid of lesser skill headlocked me. And I got into a fight once with my brother. I beat a kid in double overtime. He thought I should have like pinned him. We're wrestling freedom. They were 3A school, we're 2A. Our team wasn't good. He comes back, punching a locker, quitting the sport like that day, you know. So I always had this little fiery side that when you try to hide that, it's not good, you know. So just having that ability to, like you said, just have some sort of awareness surrounding that, I think is important.
Yeah.
I don't know why, you know, just keeps you out of sticky situations, but you know, you don't want to be that person that can't take a loss at age 50, you know. You go to the barbecue and somebody loses and you're playing quates or something, and they're like,
yeah.
You know, you don't want to be. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be getting arguments and fights and all that stuff, right? I think a lot of it goes into reading and stuff though too. Like, I think you just need to be on some sort of constant quest to try to be better somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know? So
that's why I'm in Muay Thai. So I just started training Muay Thai about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I sucked. Terrible, right? But I love terrible.
See, that's the self-awareness that's good, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, don't say that. You're not that bad. And like, no, I am.
I was bad. Yeah. It was really bad. It was like a 4-year-old kid who's just crushing me.
Dude, I had that once at a rock climbing wall place, dude. I saw like a 7-year-old girl, and I was like, oh my.
Yeah.
There's levels. All right,
yeah.
sorry.
Same thing with skiing. I'm watching these 4-year-olds ski around me, you know? But the point is that we should always be learning. I'm a lifelong learner. And whether first, the expectation that you're going to walk into a Muay Thai gym and just be like this expert is like insane, you know?
I had 7 fights in my life. I told a kid, I used to coach him, he's like, I'm thinking about doing jiu-jitsu. I'm like, oh, cool, let me know, I'll come by and choke you out. And he got mad. He gets pissed. I'm like, dude, I'm 7-0 in amateur boxing and all this other crap. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about. He's all fired up.
I had 7 fights and won them all.
I tell people that have kids that are boys, 2 brothers, I'm like, my brother and I and our friends, we used to get gardening gloves and put duct tape around the knuckles. Our parents are upstairs hanging out, and we're literally like concussing each other in the basements boxing. I'm like, that's where your future is with boys, man. So keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
We used to brawl, dude.
I bet.
Like stars in your eyes brawl.
You and the neighborhood kids?
Now it'd be like me, my brother, friends. All the parents would be upstairs, barbecue, drinking, whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, hey, you guys want to box?
Who was in on those fights?
I'm thinking that it was like I remember being
Shane.
at the Chunko's house,
Yeah.
like Rocky. Me and my brother would always be matched up though.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. It got ugly. There was a time we were playing. It was always like, who was it? It was me. So Steve Grid and Ryan were always like they would go dirty, which I'm sure you can understand now. So I'm sorry, Steve, if he ever listens to this. It was me and
He's a dirty fighter.
We were playing basketball in a friend's basement once, man. Just brawls going on.
Yeah.
It was me and this dude versus, I think it was Steve and my brother, right? Parents are upstairs, no clue. Balls getting whipped off each other's head. Kids are getting punched in the basement. They have no idea. Maybe that's for the better. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I remember that. I don't know where they just came from, but my friends were like, yeah, 3 boys. I gave them a little heavy bag in the basement. I'm like, just wait, man. No, you don't keep an eye on them for a couple minutes. Somebody's getting knocked out down there. I don't even know.
But the point is that, you know, on this journey of life, I think it's really important to always do something that you're not good at and then just keep showing up and get better at it. It keeps the mind sharp,
Yeah.
and it combats against Alzheimer's, you know, MLS or ALS. Yeah, and the mental atrophy that happens when we don't, you know, use our mind.
There's 3 things I probably talk about a lot. Number 1, nun study. All right, they looked at these nuns' brains and they just saw incredible deterioration. This is after they died, right? So they're like, these ladies should have, you know, full-blown Alzheimer's and all this stuff. They didn't. They got together. They had a social aspect to their lives. They spent time together. They did crosswords together. They kept their mind active. And by doing that, they grew more. The damaged sites were still there, but they were able to grow around it, right? You could still grow new brain neurons and stuff like that.
Interesting.
As you age, if you keep constantly striving to learn.
Yeah.
The other thing was, you know, zone of proximal development. Like, this is your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
This is where you're at now. Get a little bit outside that.
Sure. Yeah.
A little bit.
Exactly.
Nudge it.
Yep.
And eventually your Muay Thai skills are going to be there, right?
Yep.
You know, just whatever. It could be.
Yeah. I'm skiing.
It could literally be years.
Yeah.
You know? Years. Yeah. And that's the thing about martial arts, it seems, is that when you sign up for that, if you don't have the understanding that this is a year or a lifelong quest of improvement, right? It's the belt system maybe in some forms, you know. The other thing was, you might like this one because you said a lot about showing up. You said like you've had people come and send you the message, right? God told you to do something. Stephen Pressfield's an author. Every time he sits down to write, he recites a poem to the muse. It's from Homer's Odyssey, written thousands of years ago. But he basically acknowledges the muses that are out there, and he basically tries to channel them. And if he shows up every day, and if he channels the muses will then reward him with the work that needs to be done. But the muses don't reward you if you don't show up. So every day he shows up and he writes. And it might not be great, but he's going to do it anyway. And I talked about this in a previous one, but it's like out of 99 pages out of 100, you're writing a book now. You probably got some garbage in there, right? But you still have to show up. And you just got to keep putting out the work, and eventually it's going to turn into something special. So I look forward to reading it. You got anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
Just that bike thing, that analogy. I developed a program online. You can find it on my website, wesleymorse.com, where I take you through each aspect of the bike, and we find out, how do you make your decisions? Is it inductive or deductive? What are you doing to take care of your mental and physical health? What are your desires? Who's your support? And I take you through each aspect, and we define, what those are in your life. It's a powerful, powerful program. It's $99.
Nice. Could I get an early copy of the book when it's out?
100%.
Can I write a review?
Signed. Yeah.
Deal. Thanks. Thank you, man.
You saw it on here, right?
It's a deal. See you, everybody.